Welcome to the second episode of Technically Together, and today we attempt to talk about creating during the pandemic. I say attempt because, as with a lot of our conversations, we talked about a lot of other things. Also, join us as I try to improve on my recording and podcasting skills. It's a work in progress, you guys. And I sort of cried. Can't believe I did that on episode 2 of this podcast. Anyway, let's get to it. Hey everyone, welcome to Technically Together, and this is a non-tech podcast.
I actually thought of an intro if...
okay, do that then.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't just be me. So this is something that we would do every single time, and we can figure out, it would be... Because there's, certain tropes to podcasting where people have, interesting intros that slightly change every episode based on who said it last. So let's put it this way. For this week, it's you first. So you would say, this is Isa, and then I would say, you would say something like, hey everybody, welcome, I'm Isa, and then I would say, and I'm JV, and I'm Josh, or maybe I'll say JV, and then we would both say, and we're technically together.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to do that now. Yeah.
And then next week,
hey,
I would
everyone.
be like... Oh. And then next week I would be like, who did it last week? You? Okay, so I'll start. It would be
or you can be Joshua this week and JV next week, and I can be Isa does tech this week and Isa does next week and Isa. Okay. Hey everyone, this is Isa.
And I'm Josh. And we're
technically
together.
Oh. Okay, guys, this is a work in progress podcast. Like I said earlier, this is the first one I'm technically doing with Joshua because I am technically in charge. Technically, but as you just saw, he just comes up with all these great ideas and tells me where podcasts go because I have absolutely no idea. Last night I was up and then I realized that I listen to podcasts on Spotify and I was like, babe, is there, and
and then in the back end of our hosting, you hadn't done the submitting the podcast to the networks yet, so I went ahead and did that. And
oh, you had to do that?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
Simplecast simply just hosts the podcast, and then you have to actually send your feed to iTunes, to Google, to Stitcher, to all these places for them to list the podcast. The good news is that you basically just have to send it to iTunes, and then everyone else figures it out from there. But yeah, anybody out there who might be listening on Spotify, or wanting to listen on Spotify, it takes a while. They want you to have some episodes in the catalog before they submit.
Yeah.
So
that is circling back to what our topic is today. I'm getting it. We're talking about creating in the time of pandemic.
We're talking about, or even just dealing with the pandemic, dealing with this time.
Yeah. I'm saying creating because I feel like that's a very what is the word? For both of us, being both creators, dealing with the pandemic is a big chunk of it is also creating because that is our job and that's how we express ourselves. Oh, and also part of my just going back quickly, part of my what is the word? Learning how to podcast is me trying to match your quality, but guys, if you're noticing I'm squished, I have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah. Well, every episode will basically be Isa addressing the next portion of her production, you're watching the journey of someone creating right now.
Yeah.
And just for literally the one person who did comment last week about sound in the background, I was hoping we would say it on the air that in Isa's case, you have to realize
I'm sweating.
She's sitting in a sauna right now. It's the Philippines. If there's no AC, there's no show. But
we're trying this for the benefit of that one person. I get it. I was the one who was being all no, it doesn't matter. Quality, blah, blah, blah. Joshua is very specific with his quality. And I was just no, it's fine. It's a podcast. People will listen. Doesn't matter. If it's up to whatever quality, up to, and it's just, you know what? It's part of creating. It's part of trying to evolve, and also I want to match Joshua's quality because it's so good. So now today we're just gonna sweat, okay? Um, we'll deal with that later. We'll deal with that along the road.
Don't get her riled up, everybody. Just
Yeah,
sweat faster.
It's yeah.
You know what?
I'm holding
Even
my
then, you
arms
know what?
up like
Even
this
like
so
halfway
that
through
my
the
armpits
show,
don't sweat.
I feel like
Gross, I'm sorry.
I feel like even halfway through the show, you should just like turn it on when you finally had enough. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, we'll figure it
we'll find
out.
the middle ground for all of you listeners. But on that topic, you know what? Our first episode seems to have had quite a bit of like. We've had a lot of people say they had a lot of fun with it. You know, shouts out to a few people.
Thank you.
Yeah, shouts out to a few people that we know personally. Like Ricky was in the comments. Shouts out to Ricky.
Yeah.
Viper had a lot of great stuff to say about the show. He was tweeting us the last couple of days that he was watching it. He had a couple of jokes for it as usual. But yeah, it's great to hear from everybody that you're here on this journey with us, and part of that journey is indeed dealing with the circumstances we're in right now. It's funny that the moment we hit record, I'm looking at a camera, there's a mic in my face, like my energy level, I have a certain like artificial energy level that comes on when I know I'm being recorded, because I
think that's everyone.
in a way,
though.
yeah.
But yours is specific. Like I see it turn on.
Exactly. And I think she saw it turn on just before we started recording, because I told her earlier, we record these on a weekend, like about a week ahead of time. At least that's what our schedule has been for 2 episodes now. But yeah, we record these on a weekend. And generally, I'm learning very hard lessons right now about how there have been many weekends during this whole quarantine, during this pandemic, during this time where I tell myself, all right, I got like XYZ to do during the weekend. And then the weekend comes and I just shut down. Usually during the weekend, I shut down because it is the weekend. But this weekend, this particular day and yesterday, I don't know. I've actually, for the first time in a while, been feeling kind of low. You know, just putting it out there.
I mean, there's so many things happening, right? So that's just a given. And even before this pandemic started, we were struggling with scheduling, like how our workflows happen. So like for creators, because we put stuff, I like creating a video is not just like sitting in front of a camera for us. Like it's a whole production. It's scripting, shooting, writing, editing. And I remember we were having this conversation. Like we were trying to do a 5-day work weekday so that our weekends would be free. But then we realized that it was a 3-day nonstop work thing, and then 1-day break, and then another 3 days. Remember that conversation?
And it's not even a break, because we just used up all of our energy. That day literally forced itself on us that we had to do nothing.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not like, so it's there's sort of like a low down day. Is like how I like to think about it. But so even before the pandemic started, like there are very specific things that, you know, you need to, organize so that you can create efficiently. I mean, props to people who can do like 5-day weekends, like, 5-day work days when they shoot.
Props to people who have 5-day weekends also.
Yeah, props to them, man. That's the
What
life
is
I
your
want to
passive
live. But
income?
like, yeah. But like, seriously, we were thinking about that pre-pandemic, and now that the pandemic is happening, and I talked about this a little bit in a video that I shot about my mental health, because on the other hand, for me, it's been super like low. Last week was very unproductive, and I've been like, I guess what happened was I've been bottling up a lot of frustrations, and it just came out the last 2 weeks. And I mean, now I'm feeling better, but the last 2 weeks for me were like just a struggle. Like it was a struggle. And so wait, what was I saying before the struggle?
That we're trying to.
I'm a freaking goldfish. Oh my god.
That we're trying to optimize our work weeks and trying to have the right times. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, for me, part of getting back to it is creating schedules for me to follow. So I mean, imagine that was a struggle pre-pandemic, and now during the pandemic, there's a lot of guilt surrounding being productive. There's a lot of like feelings of helplessness and, I mean, worthlessness, right? Like in the grand scheme of things, it just shows you how this one thing can completely overtake everything you're doing, and all of a sudden nothing matters.
Yeah, this is definitely
right?
one huge aspect of it. Like I just read a tweet from I know that a few people who know us are also wrestling fans. So today was a big event. A couple tweets came out from certain people. One particular wrestler tweeted in response to a question, "What is a topic that you want me to talk about?" And he talks about like mental health and self improvement and stuff like that. And his response was, "How about you talk about the struggle, or rather, just how weird it is to celebrate personal joys and accomplishments when the rest of the world is burning down."
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
kind of
no.
it's kind of rough, because that's sort of that's just one of many, and I'm sure we'll go through a few of them. That's just one of many aspects that we've had to deal with, and Issa and I have had conversations about this, that in our respective countries, like there's a crap ton of stuff going on that makes us feel like, what's the point of talking about what we're talking about on the internet? Like, what is this?
Dude, yeah.
What echo chamber are we creating for ourselves right now?
Yeah, and like for context, like thinking about this makes me mad. Like I want to cry right now because that's how, like, it strikes a chord. It's gotten to the point. Oh my god, am I gonna cry in a podcast?
Take a sec.
I get so mad when I think about it.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
And we're
it's
literally
this level of frustration.
yes.
Oh my god.
And Issa and I had this conversation like a few days ago, and yeah, it's just like with so much crap happening all around us, all we're trying to do is just work on ourselves, work on our own stuff. And there are days when, because I was going to bring up a different topic of how we get overwhelmed by our work, but there's a whole nother
Like
level.
now I'm getting overwhelmed.
Yeah,
I
and-
thought I was fine. And I proposed this topic, but see, this is real mental health issues for right now. Like, I literally think about how my country is burning and my countrymen are suffering, and it frustrates me so much that I feel so helpless that I cry. And this is like, one weird thing about me is that when I get so angry, I cry. Joshua knows this. And the fact that I'm crying makes me angrier because I don't like crying. So it's like, it's an eternal cycle because
Yeah, it is.
I don't like crying, and I don't like it that when I'm mad, people see me cry because I look more helpless when I cry. And so I don't like them thinking I'm helpless because I'm not crying because I'm upset, but I'm crying because I'm angry, if that makes sense.
Well, the thing is, like, it's interesting that you bring that up because, like, this is going to be this is going to be a weird way to add to the conversation. I actually love crying. Can I just put that out there real quick?
I hate it. I hate it.
There's a certain release involved with it, and I think that the people who might judge you for crying out of frustration, when in reality you're crying out of an extreme wealth of empathy for what's going on around you, like, it says a lot more about them than it does about you, that you're actually tackling these emotions.
I mean, I hate it. I mean, so for context, my whole, like, I mean, I guess it started me sort of getting better when I ended up breaking down. I was in a call with Joshua, and I ended up like full on ugly crying because I was just so mad. And like, I guess that helped me sort my emotions out because I again, that's my problem. I don't introspect. Mindfulness, graciousness is why this guy's really good in my life. But my point is, like, so it helped, but you see, like, that happens to me and it frustrates me to no end. And it's like, imagine trying to get stuff done and like thinking about the situation and crying. That's where I'm at right now. And that's like one big struggle that I've been trying to deal with.
On my end, it hasn't even really been that, like, that type of visceral response. Like just to add to what I was saying earlier, like, I actually, there's a certain catharsis in a real good cry. But the thing is, I don't cry a lot. I don't have that kind of reaction to things. There are times, and I'm sure people can relate to this, where you think to yourself, God, I wish I could just BAWL, ball out right now. And just like let it all out, and I don't have that in me, typically. Like, I'm not that kind of person, but when I do kind of let it out, there's a real sense of catharsis behind it. But like this past weekend, like I was saying earlier, I just kind of shut down. And yes, there are so many things that are happening right now. And the most recent one was freaking Chadwick Boseman passing away. So a lot of people are really upset over that, and how like it's just news that kind of not really came out of nowhere. It didn't come out of nowhere. It's just that we didn't know what he was going through. And yeah, he passed away, you know, rest in power. And a lot of people have been sort of reacting to that. So there's sort of like this general malaise around like social media right now.
You said malaise.
There's this
That's a beautiful word.
there's this general like feeling of just being down on social media right now. And even on top of that, it's just the whole idea of like being stuck on social media, scrolling out until 2 a.m. So it means I'm falling asleep with terrible feelings in my heart.
Ouch.
Like
That was me last night.
well, we're all doing it, right? And in your case, you just scroll through it. Like there have been times when she and I are lying in bed and there's a light in the corner of my eye and she's just scrolling. And
Well, you're on Amazon and I'm scrolling through Twitter. No, but yeah, I mean, yeah.
But yeah, it's there are the term isn't triggers, but there are things that make us feel this way. And it's such an interesting struggle, and I want to hear from anybody. Like you can say it in the comments, since our YouTube commenters are fairly active, it seems like, from our first episode. Like if you're a creator or if you're just trying to get work done, like, and you go through this, like what do you do to get through it? Like I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts are, guys and girls.
What do you do?
I just shut down, to be honest. Like I part of what everyone preaches about self-care is letting yourself go through the things that happen to you. And I do genuinely believe that if you feel that, again, I'll use the word malaise in your life, like you just let it come, you let it go, you let it pass. But I got to admit, that's like, this wasn't the direction I was meaning to go this early in the episode, but I mean,
I didn't expect to cry episode 2, babe.
Well, what I mean is I'm going to bring it up again later is what I mean. Like, you get that sense of guilt, and I know Issa can attest to this. You get that sense of guilt of taking that day for yourself because you clearly need it. And then the pile of work you left is bigger once you come back to it the next day. And that overwhelms you and frustrates you. That's where I am right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at all the stuff I wanted to do this weekend, knowing what I'm going to do this week, and I feel so shitty about it right now. That's why I feel so down today.
Yeah. I mean, add to the equation the fact that as creators, our work never runs out. You know what I mean? Like being a tech, specific to tech, like there will always be new things. That's just, we've had this conversation a million times, but that's just how content creation in tech is structured if you work the way we do. Like there will never be a time when you don't have a backlog. You just have to be okay with it. But I mean, I guess both me and Joshua have been struggling with being okay with backlog. It's tough because that's how it's structured, and like how content creation online itself is structured in a way where like every time you look at your numbers, I mean, Joshua, I know, does not like look at his numbers. He is the one person I know who doesn't really like look at it. Look at it.
They call it like you're an analytics geek, and I'm not that as much. Like I'll look
he doesn't like
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I've noticed this from you ever since I've met you. Like, you know your numbers, sure, but it's not like you don't obsess over it. Like, I've obsessed over it, and I suck at math. Like, I've obsessed over it, and I haven't, like, really fully grasped, like, what this all means. And I'm just like, how do I make this better? But the thing is, like, how it's all set up is in a way that, you need to up your last performance. Even if you look at it from this time you started to now, it has improved. Does that make sense? Like, how am I explaining it right?
Speaking specifically of YouTube, they literally have this thing, which is, I'm gonna say that it's a net positive, but it's also pretty flawed in the way that it presents to you its information. You are told every single video.
It sort of like amps you up.
Yeah, you're told every single video how it did compared to your last however so many on average. But at the same time, if you go deeper into a video, it will tell you this video is not doing well because, and then it'll tell you the things you really don't want to hear. People are less interested. People don't click. People aren't watching it for as long as your last one. Like
it's the real talk.
Yeah, it's the tough talk from YouTube, and it's that's the part that I don't actively look at every single time, because there's a certain mixture when it comes to me where I know that right now certain things will do well. I'm not going to say amazing. I never think a video is going to do amazing. If it does, that's up to circumstances that are beyond my control. But if a video does well, then cool. But then if I do a video that I know is not going to do well, it's because I wanted to do it. You know, like I did a video on a lens, and if you look at if you were to do a bell curve of my videos over the last month, there's like decent, one good one, and then a huge dip down to like 4-digit numbers, and then like back to decent, which is kind of where like, and if someone were to tell me you got to stop doing those videos, I'm like, then you're asking me to stop talking about what I want to talk about.
You know, one thing that has become super helpful to me, that you told me, was ebbs and flows, because this is the struggle that I have a lot. I have had decent growth in my channel, which is, I mean, significantly smaller, but it's also from where I am, that's not as big. So it's always going to be the grass is greener on the other side.
Oh, of course.
And like I've had people ask me like, how does it feel to have like success in your channel? But it depends on where you're looking from. What, like, you know what I mean? Like, so for me, it's like, you may think that I've had this growth and that's good, but like it will always be relative. And I always struggle with my content because I make tech content, but I want it to appeal to a different audience, an audience that I have yet to see exist for a certain creator. Like, so like this is why like that Mr. Mobile tweet resonated with me so much, because he basically, like, when he hit 1 million, he basically said something along the lines of, I wanted to build a specific audience, and that's what we did. And like that's what I want. But going back to what you said, it's always like I make the videos that I know that specific audience would want, but it's not gonna do well. And I know that. Yeah. I know that because I'm still waiting and trying to build it. But then I have access to all these things that I know will make for a video that will give me views. But I don't want to do that and that alone. Like I'm okay with doing that, but I don't want to do just that.
Exactly.
You know?
Which is why
So
you have to have both. It's that old,
yeah.
And as long as we're name dropping some fellow creators, it's the old the Sarah Dici mantra, which was one for you, one for me. And that's kind of how we have to structure ourselves, at least, especially throughout this pandemic, where we're being told, or rather, the culture of quarantine work is never stop. And it's a very bad way of looking at it. I mean, I get it. I get to sit here and I can literally hit record on this camera and maybe bust out like 8 different videos by sitting here for 2 hours just talking about all those different topics. But it's like...
But I don't want that.
But we shouldn't. And we shouldn't, you know?
Yeah.
And it's rough because, unfortunately for us, in our field, the releases don't stop. We have like 3 coming up. We have, I think I can think of 4 in the next 2 weeks. And
I mean, 3 is just a week for me. Like I still have 3 phones, so it's like I have like, no, I don't have 3 phones. I have 3 mid-range phones and 2 budget phones that are pending right now. That was due like 2 weeks ago. So it's like that's the backlog. And on top of that, it's all the things I want to do, and it's just one of me, you know.
So let me give you back your question. Like, what do you do when that feeling comes up? And I don't think there is a real like bad answer, honestly. It's just because you know what? Any given time when we feel the overwhelm or the malaise, is that the name of this podcast? Every time we feel the overwhelm, our answer at that given moment might be different from previous ones. You know, we might be different each time.
What I do, what I can. Like for me, it's again, it's an ongoing struggle. Sometimes I'm just mad. Sometimes I feel like crying. Sometimes I feel like I need to rest. For this particular one, and this one hit me bad the last few weeks, I just took it slowly. But I've also been drinking.
I actually actively kept myself from drinking this weekend because I was like, I might need to ride out this downness that I'm feeling.
I mean, for me, the drinking is not so much like drinking in a corner by myself and being sad. It's more of a social thing. It's
Yeah.
like carving time out with my family and having drinks because it's the only semblance of chilling out that we have right now that's social.
Yeah.
So it's that for me. And like I've enjoyed having drinks with your family, but for my family, that's very extraordinary. No one drinks here except for me. No one used to drink here.
Meanwhile, yeah.
Even celebratory. I'm talking about celebratory drinks, like just
sure.
enjoying, like not getting like crazy drunk, but just like having some alcohol.
Well, she's also right that with my parents being retired, they like most nights are accompanied with, we have these little glasses. I have no idea where we got them, but it's like their way of.
We have the same thing.
Huh?
Apparently it's a thing. We have these tiny, like, they're slightly bigger than yours. But then that's where we drink from because I like that practice your parents do, like just a little bit, just to celebrate. And
Yeah, you're right, and it's also it's portion control too. Like they know to fill it up 3/4 of the way, and that's one portion. And if they want more, then they'll just get another one. We have like from your recommendation, as I told them, they got the peach soju's, and like
that's what I drank last night.
They just have that with most meals. For me and my family, it's not really drinking as a social construct. It's our meals together. And I would typically bring up random stuff that I've seen on the internet or stuff that I've been through, and then we end up ranting about it together. But yeah, that's our way. But that was the other thing, is that the general feeling of just being meh or blah or whatever term you want to use. I think a part of it also is just that I've been by myself. I am by myself. Even without this pandemic, Issa knows I'm as extroverted as I might be, I'm a fairly solo writer. Like I don't really have anyone in my daily life than myself.
So his office has this really cute cafe downstairs, and it's like I've been wanting, like every time I visited and stayed over, I'm like, cafe looks cute, I want to shoot there. So one day I was there and I finally decided to like shoot there, and for some reason we met the owners and they kept on giving us empanadas, and I'm like, oh my god, this place has been here since forever. And he's never gone because he's never gone because he's always like, he is a solo rider a lot.
Well, when I get to my office, it's just I get to work, and I don't. That's all that's on my agenda, because in that area where my office is, I'm literally the only person of my kind there. Like everyone else is an office worker, or they own a salon, or they own a restaurant. I'm just a weird YouTuber who sometimes sleeps in his office. Like
no, they don't know you're a YouTuber. They think you're just doing OnlyFans or something.
Just
It's literally what they think.
Any given, like I can feel their eyes whenever I open my door to go in and out of my office, and they just see like this huge light pointed down at a table, and they're just like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
I've explained it to a few people, but it's not like for example, my landlords are super supportive of it. Like I remember my first year when I got the office, I was speaking to them and I told them, I work at a publication, I'm looking to go out on my own, so this is literally going to be my working space, my filming space. And they're like, wow, we're going to have a YouTuber in one of our offices. And I was like, I guess, so they were cool about
I mean, it's a little funny things. Like so my cousin's son, this kid, okay, the only identifying factor that he has of me is like the lady with the bright hair. So I mean, he I think it's a fairly conservative background for him. So it's like I was on a call because it's my lolo's birthday on tomorrow, actually. So we were like trying to see like what to get him. He wants a cake where you pull money out. Different tangent altogether, but so this kid apparently was watching something on YouTube, looks something up, and finds me, freaks out, runs to his mom and goes like, isn't isn't she my tita, the one who gave me the something? And I'm just like, that's so funny. Because to him, and I realize now, because this is not something I got. Because for our generation, like TV, YouTube, it's different, right? It's like, but I guess for him, that's where he watches stuff. And like to not realize that you can just put stuff on there like we do.
Yeah.
Because it's very visible to people. It's like, it's very funny to me. It's very interesting to me. He freaked out because he saw someone he knows on the place that he watches stuff at.
Yeah. It's like you're part of you just leapt out of the computer. Like this thing that I watch many people on, all of a sudden you're one of them.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting little like dissonance that people have when they know us and then they see us and then they know us. But yeah.
But I mean, circling back to our topic though about creating in the time of pandemic and everything, it's like
Nice callback.
and it's also learning, but it's also connecting it to Chadwick Boseman. You know, just because people are visible doesn't mean you know what they're going through.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
of course, I'm like, we're gonna be reviewing tech. I'm not, I mean, I know that my anger is seeping through everything I do, sure. But like, when I'm talking about a phone, it's not like you're gonna know that I am feeling this way. The same way that a lot of people, like, I mean, to a small, tiny extent, I sort of see why they didn't talk about his cancer, because someone put it out very succinctly that, you know, he didn't want to be all his performances. Maybe I'm saying maybe because we will never know, but maybe he didn't want people to see them through the lens of his disease.
Absolutely.
But my point is, like, people are like, remember at the time that he came out, like, people were actually making fun of how he looked, not knowing what he was going through.
Yeah. And
I think, like, go on.
well, it's rough, right? Because I feel like it was the right call, because on a very basic level, he wouldn't want people to find out what he's going through via platforms like, say, TMZ or some crappy thing like that. Instead, his family used his account on Twitter to make the announcement, and now that's like the amount of love on that particular tweet is amazing. And yes, you're right. You know, we can't judge people at all. We shouldn't judge them at all, honestly. But like,
I mean, not to minimize what he went through, though, right? Like, because
Exactly.
of course, like, being sad about everything does not compare to having, you know, what him or any other person went through. But I mean, the tangent is like seeing what's online versus what's actually happening in real life.
totally,
Right.
totally.
And this ties back to,
I feel like some people see what we do on the internet and they see it in a vacuum, in such a powerful vacuum, because you can watch maybe, let's say on average, 8 to 12 minutes at a time, snippets of our lives or what we do on the internet back to back to back. And there's a certain consistency in all of that content that is literally manufactured. And for any of you to assume that that is what our entire lives are like is a fallacy. It's a straight fallacy. We're giving you an extra hour a week. So come on. like there's a little bit more to it than that, but still it's frustrating when some people are like, you know, they demand certain things from our content when we are trying to just make sure that we on the inside are okay.
yeah. I mean, powerful vacuum is definitely the right term for it. Not to say that there isn't any authenticity in what you put out, but it's also your particular is not the word, but your right to keep certain parts of your life for yourself, right? Or at least, like, when you're ready to share it,
Yes.
like, have it's your right to share it when you want to share it, right?
Or when you think it's actually going to be constructive, because it's not. It's not just. The last thing I feel like Issa and I want to do usually when we put ourselves out there is yell into echo chambers. Like, we actually want there to be
Yeah.
some sort of usefulness out of what we're putting out there, either for them or for us. One for you, one for me, you know?
Yeah.
And you felt like you were ready to put out that video about mental health, about your mental health, I should say. You know, and we felt ready to start sharing our relationship, both because it's one for you, which is you get to enjoy us being together, and one for us, we get to enjoy being together because these are weekly conversations we're
Yeah.
having.
And I mean, to a certain extent, for me, I don't know why I didn't think about it earlier, but podcasts are conversations, and that's what I want to have. Like, I mean, I get that videos are conversations, but I mean, I know you, I know me, we really just ultimately enjoy talking. And it's like, when you have these sit down conversations, it's easier to flesh out things and thoughts versus, you know, videos are videos, yours and mine, I think, specifically, because there are people who sit down and just shoot videos, right? But at least for our tech stuff, I know that we both think of it in many different layers. Like, I mean, you can sit down and just shoot a video. I know this. I never do that because I would want my information to be succinct, to be visually pleasing, to be, you know, appealing to people in a certain way. And you too. I mean, I'm saying you can do it, you don't, but I'm saying for both of us, like, we have a specific way of constructing our videos that's very different from sitting down and having a conversation like on a podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we have a way of structuring
Right.
the info that we're imparting. And even then, like, I think we mentioned this on the first episode that neither of us are the we're not just sort of like detail. Well, what's the term I'm looking for? Like, the term I want to say is we're not spec sheet reviewers. Like, we're sharing our perspectives, and in my case, the term I always
Well,
use is I'm
yeah.
I'm sharing my journey with this thing. You know, I'm sharing my journey.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say, I don't want to say spec shit.
Filipino accent. It's a Filipino accent.
shit. Yeah, I don't want to say spec sheet reviewer because it connotes like a negative,
Yeah,
a
I didn't want it to
way,
come out.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want it to
Yeah,
come out
because
as what's the term I'm
Yeah.
looking for? I didn't want it to be facetious.
There's a pejorative connotation to when people say spec shit. Why can't I say it? Or maybe I just want to say shit so much, but spec sheet reviewer. Like, to each his own, man. Like, if that's how you want to tackle it, maybe that's how your brain. It doesn't mean that you're just. I mean, you know, I don't want to. There's so much hate already. And it's like, if you're hating on someone reviewing something, it's his freaking review, man. Let him review the way you want. You can just not watch.
Yeah,
Right? For me, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are creators I don't like watching. But right now I can't think about it because I don't watch them, you know?
yeah,
And it's like, credit where credit is due. People try. At least they put themselves out there. What are you doing? That's not all of you, though. You guys are nice. Like, I'm talking about, like, some people.
And
Joshua knows this. Yeah.
I have a feeling this is going to be, as one of my favorite words is tropes. This is going to be one of the tropes of our podcast. Is eventually every episode we're going to yell at the bad commenters for a few minutes.
Yeah, maybe we should have a segment where we yell. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's cathartic. See, we do what we can for our mental health. Like, Joshua knows this. We've had a conversation about how differently we handle trolls and haters. Joshua ignores. He's. I mean.
Can I
like,
say though, because of you, I have become a bit more like you have your just the way that you can clap back is, for lack of a better term, inspiring. And I try to be that way too. One of my go-to responses is to literally word for word mirror what they're saying so that they can see how ridiculous they're being. So I use the same exact format of their comment to make fun of their comment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, we've had this conversation, right? I mean, I'm also seeing, as I go along, I'm also seeing why there are people who choose to ignore, because I have been very firm in my belief that I need to respond to this because as a woman, I need to tell people it's not okay.
Yes.
I need to say you're being ridiculous and I am not taking this. And I mean, I guess it's from my background. It's my growing up it's not specifically my family though. It's just the general conservative background that I've dealt with growing up in the Philippines. Because if for people who don't know, the Philippines is one of the biggest Catholic countries. Like it is predominantly Catholic, and a lot of our laws and morals are hinged on the Catholicism that the Spaniards brought to subjugate the Philippines. The same way the Americans brought language, but that's another conversation altogether. We can have a different podcast on that because that is a whole different my point is, it is religion brought about by colonizers. No hate, these are just facts that, our daily lives have been centered about. And part of that narrative is a woman being submissive to the patriarchy. I'm throwing around so many big words. But in so many words, I have been so used to being told to just take it. And I guess for me, my personal way of rebellion is to say, no, I'm not. And for me to vocalize that and for me to put that out in the world feels like me taking back,
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people will say in the comments of this video that they see that, just like I said, it's an inspiring thing. And you clearly have people who have told you that as well on social media, that you responding to those things is an important thing. And I guess in a certain upbringing of being told, to just take it, it's just the way the world is. Like, I think on the spectrum of just commenters and tweets and social media, from what I've seen at least, I've seen people tell you to either, I don't think I've ever told anybody, I don't think I've ever seen anybody tell you to just man up, quote unquote, which is a terrible term, to take it. But the actual things that they've told you is, A, you can ignore. That's obviously one way to handle it. And we all have the right to do that. Or B, do what you have done a lot of, and that's respond and actually try to educate and try to not take a stand. Rather, you're taking a stand against it, which is good.
I mean, I want to say though that even then I'm now appreciating more and more picking your battles. It's not ignoring, but picking your battles, especially when you have such a frail mental state, which I am, on and off feeling. It does help. It's tough. It's finding the balance in everything, which, I mean, it's pretty hard for me because this, I go either all in or not at all. I have a tendency to go either black or white. I sometimes, and Josh always reminds me that there is a gray, but my personality, how I am, I usually just either jump in or never do it, which has always been a struggle.
Well, this podcast is this is water. Why am I burping? This podcast is a perfect example because, by and large, we enjoyed and everyone enjoyed episode 1. I brought up the idea that I could help teach Isa how to edit the audio if the background noise we want to fix. And she straight up was like, no, we're just going to record it, put it out there, and that's it. And now look what happened. Right before we got onto the episode, she turned off her air conditioning for you. So yes, she has a tendency. She has a tendency to pick A or B when I or just circumstances tend to remind her that there's an entire alphabet out there. And I am thankful for your patience, though. I know this is something you struggle with, and I know this is something that frustrates you sometimes, especially when you're just trying to help me, and I'm just either no or straight up, yes, let's do everything. And I know that, and I appreciate that. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I didn't really feel that way when it happened because, like I said in episode 1, and I firmly believe this, the two of us have enough on our plate. I know I do, running basically 2.5 channels.
I don't know how you do that.
Jaime says it a lot too. I put a video out last week and then yesterday, and he was like, how are you doing? How do I check in on you and ask you, how's this video doing? And then 6 hours later, it's done. And I'm like, well, there's 2 or 3 days in between each video where I'm just comatose on my bed. It's just...
No, but I just really want to say this because, I've been saying that we do this or we do that with our videos and blah 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 blah. But I just want to put it out there, like, we may have similar treatment, but like how Joshua produces and his rate of production is on a whole different level. I have yet seen anyone who comes up with content and of that caliber that quickly, when he does decide to like get on it, because like literally what happens is I am shooting 2-3 days, I'm already planning a video. Joshua does whatever in the span of 2-3 days, and on the day that he needs to publish his video, he works on it and comes up with something so well produced. And it's crazy to me how highly effective he is at his job. It's like he doesn't say this, and he just, I mean, I don't know if he realizes this, maybe he does, I don't know, we're talking like he's not here, but my point is, I have never seen anyone as productive. No, it drives me crazy. Okay, at the start of this podcast, I said I was trying to, produce content up to par with the standards, hence I'm sweating. But my point is, like, at a certain extent, I've actually stopped trying, because I can be very competitive too, right? Like, for a long time, and I've realized this, and I told Joshua this, I was trying to create videos on a certain level that wasn't sustainable for me because I'm one person. I was trying to create like videos of the caliber that you'd expect from a whole production team.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh was like, yeah, you don't need to do that, do this. And yet he comes up with videos that look like that. So it's like, for me, I'm just like, well, you do it, so like I'll try it, but then it ain't it, bro. He can literally churn out videos just like that, and they will not feel like they're churned out because I don't know how you do it. I really do. I don't. Well, I've stopped wondering.
To quote Viper, who responded to our episode tweet. So the lesson here is that this is a bad impression of him. I'm not trying to do an impression of him. It's a different voice because it's a different person. So what we learned here is Joshua is as optimal as possible, so he can optimize his optimal flow to be as optimized as possible, or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm paraphrasing.
No, yeah,
but that's really the most of it, though. Because I have like 3 different ways of getting the same shot, so that at any given moment I can get that shot. You know what I mean?
I mean, sure, you can talk about your optimal setup, but I've seen people with there are people with expensive gear and stuff like that. It's not your gear; it's how you do your work.
There is a sheer force of will involved at times, and as Issa has known me to spiral into. There are times when I get really down on myself because I know that I work at my most efficient, not best.
Before we were so rudely interrupted, so Alexa, turn the AC on.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry. It's not me even. It's my camera. It's so hot. Like, I am this close to getting like paso. But yeah. Anyway, you were saying.
I'm fully expecting there, and I know I'm willing this to happen because I'm saying it out loud. But I'm sure people are going to comment that like, oh wow, at minute 45 or whatever, she finally turned on the air conditioning. We didn't even know she was sweaty. Like, that kind of.
Yeah,
you really don't
black.
look it. You really don't look it, honestly.
Thank you.
The thing I was saying before the quick cut was, yes, there is sheer force of will involved, and I fall into stressful spirals because. And this will trigger a memory in Issa because there were a few certain situations, days, occasions that I was just not. It wasn't just me feeling down. I was actively gaslighting myself, as David and Mel would say. I was actively hating myself because I kept thinking, why am I only this good under the gun? Why do I have to be told that the world's gonna end and then I do my best work? Like, that's what it genuinely felt like. And I do think that on some level I've learned how to not be that way, but there's also the other extreme of if you are working at a very relaxed pace, what's to stop you from relaxing completely? You know?
Well, another thing of it is being like independent creators. It's like you. The only ever gold star you get is if you hit certain numbers, which is not indicative of how you're actually performing. And I mean, I think that's why, like with our setup, it works because we actively cheer each other on. But not everyone has that. And it's hard, and I know this because as a creator, especially if you're family, I mean, I come from a family of professionals. My dad's a lawyer. My brother graduated law school, so he's gonna be a lawyer. My sister apparently is gonna take more schooling. She's a doctor. So, I mean, my point is, like, from a family who they don't understand what YouTube is. So, like, people can cheer you on, but like if they don't understand it, it's also tough.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like it's how, like, I mean, to them, like what are it's not a traditional career path, so it's not like there are things that they can look at other than numbers.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
And
so it's tough.
And to sort of spread the praise around, I want to be, and I have told her this to her face. Well, I've told her this to her Telegram. That
to her face, technically.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah, technically.
What?
Nice. It is astonishing to me how much you have done during quarantine, and I know that it's not been easy, and I know that it's not been I know that, again, sheer force of will might have been part of it, but you know, to anybody who might not know, and you might, because if you follow her on Twitter, you know what the journey was. This woman made dozens of videos over the last few months with no laptop. She did not have her own laptop. A freak
funny.
accident happened the last time she was here in the US, where a water bottle just decided to pee all over her laptop. And
I mean, though, props to people at Peak Design.
which is
Holy
funny.
shit, their bag's good.
Their bag is
Holy
good.
shit, it's so good.
Their bag is good in that
Kept the water.
it kept the water in.
Yeah. In with my laptop though, but it held the water. His car is dry.
Exactly.
It spilled in the car, and the car is dry because the bag is so good. It held the water, except it held the water in where my laptop was.
So she
But
was.
I mean,
So she was literally bumming it on other people's laptops. She was bumming it on like an old MacBook Air, like these things that are not, you know, to my point, or to points made about me, things that are not optimized. And for somebody like Issa, there's something that I know very well about Issa, is that if you give her, or rather I'll talk directly to you, yeah, we're doing that thing where
I'm here, okay.
Yeah. When you're given the right tools, you can really create magic. That's the thing. And that's the reason why somebody like me, who is a gearhead, who is someone who's all about optimizing, that's why I do like actively try and suggest A, B, C to you. But I also know, and you know, this is also circling back, that if you are not feeling it, that there's no use in me pushing too hard.
Yeah.
I have to have enough
I think
faith and patience that you will get
yeah.
there on your own. You know, I say you know a lot
I
at the end of
think-
my sentences. It's just a weird quirk I just noticed.
I mean, it's also, I think, because I think we know. I think a lot of the things that we talk on this podcast are things we know, but we just like talking about it. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's confirming that fact. I mean, we're at the 1 minute mark, but for me, learnings,
minute?
I actually have a few.
You said 1 minute mark?
Oh, sorry, it's been a minute. Sure. No, it's like we're at the 54-minute mark, so maybe we can wrap up. A few things about like this conversation. I think I had a new learning from this conversation. I'm trying to remember, but let me synthesize. Again, I think well when I am talking to someone.
Talking through talking through the thoughts.
Yeah. So I mean, a few things dealing with, I mean, creation or everything and anything during this bleak time. One, I mean, you can make things as you wish, as you will, with sheer force, but you know, you have to slow down sometimes. Like, that's what happened to me. Like, you can always praise me for having worked through everything since January, but it needs to be said that the last 2 weeks, I was just like dead. It took so much. Like, I put out one video last week, and that took so much from me to just put that out. It was tough just getting that out. It was tough just sitting down and talking about an intro and just smiling through everything when I just really felt like I didn't want to do anything.
Yep.
And those days are normal. Half of the time, and Joshua knows this, I shoot something, I'm not feeling it, I tell him it sucks, I edit it, it's fine. So it's also getting outside of your head sometimes and just doing it and not being like me when I go 100 or 0. It's just doing it. It's just a lot of the time for content creation that helps. But it's also what might work for me might not work for you, as is evident with both our workflows, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like, Joshua has a different way and I have a different way. What we can do is suggest things that might help. And what you can do, and which is what I do when Joshua gives me advice, is I try to pick out the things that I feel would work. It doesn't have to be 100 or 0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In Joshua's words, there are other letters in the alphabet. So that's what it is for me, really. It's every day doing what we can. I mean, I have plants, and I have plants inside the aquarium underwater.
I was just about to say, you also have fish. You have a lot of fish now.
Yeah,
You have a
that's
lot
really
of
cute.
you have like what? You have like more than half a dozen dogs, and you have all those fish. You have many friends.
I mean, I do. I talk to them when I'm sad. And that makes me sound like Snow White. I hate Snow White. She is a very helpless Disney character. She's a product of her time. Another issue altogether. But I mean, it's finding the joy in the little things you do also.
Well,
It's finding the little thing.
On the topic of feeling low, which is how I was feeling coming into this, I do feel better. Like, I do feel better now after actually talking to somebody, and I think that's half the battle, is like making sure that you are actually expressing yourself in some sort of way. But it also is very important to have somebody there to feed off of, to actually have that back and forth with, and to actually have a real conversation with, because we're literally not being human beings right now. We are being like hermits in a cave, and we need to be able to talk to the people around us. And as much as I love my family who I live with, it's just not the same. There are times when it's very effective, don't get me wrong, but like right now, talking with my girlfriend, very important. That's why we're technically together. And but even then, it's like,
And that's it for today. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
but like, it's, you know what? That gave me another idea, but we'll do that. We'll talk about that later. But that's the other thing too, is that finding the joys in your personal life, even when the rest of the world seems to be crumbling. The thing is, this might end up sounding a little bit selfish, but maybe in certain times you have to be. Remember that the things that you do don't necessarily have to impact everything around you. Sometimes the things we do are for us. Sometimes the things we do are for our loved ones. And like you said before, if we have people, if we are cheering each other on, then we are succeeding, because we care about one another, and what we do matters to the other person.
You know, that's a tough lesson I had to learn, switching from, being an employee or someone who just created content for fun, and then eventually being an employee who created content, and then eventually being my own content creator. That sometimes, you just have to create content because that's your job, and it's not going to be 100% you're creating content because it's fun.
Yeah. There are times when that'll happen.
That's It's a tough pill, and I think that applies to everything, everyone to a certain extent. For me, what helps me create still is, even if I enjoy very much my tech content, my tech channel, I still always look at it with the same responsibility I'd look at an actual job.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why, even in despite of everything, I'm not letting up. Even if, like, I mean, technically, how it's not a steady paycheck, right? Like, at least for me, it's like what you get varies too.
Yes.
Not like how you would like a normal job. So like for me, I still like, even in spite and despite of everything that's happening or the world crumbling, or I still look at it as my job, a thing I have to do. And it's happy that most of the time I want to do it, but I still have to do it.
And during those
Does that make
times
sense? Like,
when you might be feeling like during those times when you feel like you're forcing it, there are people like myself, or maybe, for lack of a better term, our fans, maybe our peers, who still find value or want you to know that there's value in the things you do.
yeah.
So even
Yeah.
if a video we put out tomorrow may not change our governments, like, it's still a valuable thing that we are doing what we are doing, if not just for ourselves, but for the people that we care about and who care about us.
Yeah, it's basically, yes. It's
But our health is important
It's
too.
crazy.
Our mental
Yeah,
health
it's crazy.
and our self-care is
It's- yeah.
important too. Don't get me wrong. All I'm saying is, don't get down on yourself too hard if you find yourself questioning your productivity, your efficiency,
Yeah.
the amount of things you're doing during this pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, it's not black or white. Both can be true.
Yeah.
You can take time for yourself while still thinking that you're valuable, that your content, your
Yeah.
work is valuable.
I think that's the basic lesson here, huh? It's not black and white, and what works for you works for you. I keep on doing that, no? Like repeating words, thinking
Sure.
they mean something different. Because
I think on some
and-
level we're trying to find a way out of the episode because we don't have a set outro, right? Did we? We didn't say the one we did. in
No,
episode
don't
one.
you have an outro?
I mean, I just go through the usual. I turn on the announcer voice and I start naming off our social media handles and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, I guess we'll end. Wait, I'm sorry. That was my job to end the podcast.
I'm technically the guest. No, not really, but
I mean,
it's your
on
podcast.
that note, we are technically ending.
We'll figure it out. We have an intro now,
Yeah.
so that's fine. We have an intro now.
Yeah, I mean that's it for today. Let us know in the comment section, Char. But no, yeah, it's a conversation, you guys. Feel free to add into the mix. I haven't been responding to comments yet. I have to get into the groove of how it'll all work, tying together everything that we do. I mean,
I do think that
let us know.
every 3 or 4 or 5 episodes we can do like a short comment response segment, or even better, what I know is common in podcasts like ours. If you have things that you want us to talk about, like, jump into the
Yes.
comments, and
Not that we'd ever run out of things to talk about, but like at least we can, tackle other things.
Exactly. Like, if there are topics that you want us to cover, we reserve the right to not if we don't want to. But yes, if you want to suggest topics for us to talk about, it could be anything. This is not a tech podcast. However, I'm sure most of you, or some of
We
you,
can talk tech.
we
too.
can. But we
At some
reserve the
point.
right to choose when to.
Yeah.
But yes, go ahead and feel free and give us some suggestions in the comment sections on YouTube, or tweet us on Twitter. It's technically Tog, right?
Yeah, because Twitter won't allow for the whole word, apparently.
But Instagram
We
does.
have an Instagram account. Yeah. I don't know what we're going to put there, but I just wanted to, like, own it.
Yeah.
Own it. So we have that, and then you can find Joshua on... Wait, aren't you supposed to come in? Oh, okay.
Well, the way
you
you-
can
the
find
way you
Joshua on
lingered.
youtube.com/jvtechT. Wait, no, sorry, that's wrong. Joshua,
Okay, I'll do
I
it.
have to be better. You can find Joshua on youtube.com/Joshua Vergara, or on Instagram and Twitter. That's jvtechT, because he likes tech and loves
Tea.
covers that.
And that was like 95% of the way there. All right, so you can find Isa on all social media at Sisasaid. That is, and you do this way better than me. That's at SISASAID. Ooh,
It's tough, huh?
It's tough. It's really
right.
hard.
It's tough.
She
I
is
told
at
you.
Isa
I mean,
said on all social media, and you can also find her on YouTube at
Yeah.
youtube.com/IsaDoesTech. But she also has her own
Yeah.
channel outside of the tech content at youtube.com/IsaDoes. Or do you have that URL?
if we find time to do it, yeah.
Okay.
If we find time to put stuff on there, but yeah, this we have this. I don't know where we have the audio podcast because I don't get that side yet. But we also have the YouTube channel for the video podcast.
You can
and
watch
it's
me and
technically
a squished
together.
Isa. So it's not Isa, it's more like Isa. So it's squished as Isa. And then
This is how like body beauty modes work. So we'll live with that. We'll figure it out. But again, pick your battles, which is one of the lessons in this podcast. We pick our battles. Squished Isa is the least of my worries right now, as is with the aircon, which is now on. Which wait, other hand there. Wait, there. Okay, I'm thinking of doing a video on the smart home tech, but we'll get to that later. That's on the tech side, so let me know if that's something. Why am I plugging my text? I don't know. It turned on.
you know what? All
Yeah.
of the links we just talked about are in the show notes or the description for the YouTube channel. We're still figuring out the outro, my friends, but at least we have an intro. So why don't we just do this? Thank you so much for listening to this podcast, episode 2. Look forward to our next episode, and thank you for being there for episode 1. Like, we are really happy with the response.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Really, really happy that you guys are here with us.
Yeah. Oh, are we ending now?
Well, what were you-
We're gonna end this with me asking if we're ending now, huh?
Well, we might.
Yeah, bye.
And that's this week's Technically Together episode. You can find the video version of this podcast on YouTube on the Technically Together channel, and we're also available on other places where you listen to your podcasts. Soon. We'll get there. To find mine or Joshua's stuff, our links are in the show notes down below. Let us know what you guys thought of this episode. Until next week, bye!